It is brisket time again. I've got a 12-pound brisket here. We're gonna give it a great rub, a new rub that I found. We're gonna smoke it up out on the Lone Star Grillz offset, and we're gonna have some great beef to eat. All right, here we go. We are starting with about a 12-pound USDA Choice Brisket. We're gonna do some trimming on it real quick here, and then we're gonna move on to the rub, which I'm excited about. I've tried it. It's from a buddy of mine, Kenneth, over at North Texas Barbecue Addicts. I bought this rub. He offered to send me some, but it's like I saw it first and just ordered it. It's really good. So I'll show you that when we get to that, but let's just trim this up a bit. Now, I'm not an expert at trimming brisket. I do the best I can. If you really want to see people trim brisket the right way, go to my buddy Joe over at Smokin' Joe's Pit Barbecue or James over at Aim 'em and Claim 'em Smokers. They do a lot of briskets. They know what they're doing. I can get by. Now, I'm not trimming this up for competition or anything because I don't do comp and I don't think I could do comp. I'm just not that kind of cook. So I'm just trimming this up the best that I can for a home brisket. I'm not going to worry about getting all the tiny little bits of fat off here. Any of the big chunks I probably will. And any of the hard pieces, and I'm not worried about squaring this off. I'm going to take a little bit of this edge on the back side here off. I'll show you that in a minute. Let me just go along here. And any of these pieces like this that still have a little bit of meat on them, save this, freeze it. You can use these grindings when you make hamburger. In fact, I did a brisket burger video not that long ago. Really good. Ground it up from a brisket flat. All right, let's turn this over. You can see we got a pretty good fat cap on here. So I'm just going to take this down a bit. I'm not going to take it all off and try not to go too deep where we expose too much meat. Again, this is the way I do it. A little bit too deep there. I'm going to square this side off just a little bit. And I have a little cut protector glove under my left-hand glove here. Don't always use that, but I probably should. Now this brisket is going to go on the smoker tomorrow. We're not doing it today. This is going to sit in the refrigerator overnight, absorbing those flavors from the rub. You don't have to do that, but if you get the chance to do that, it works really well. This is getting to the point where I am just about happy with this. Again, I'm not a competition cook. I'm not a brisket expert. It ends up tasting good though. That's the goal, right? This started out at about a 12-pound brisket. I'm guessing we're taking, probably 1.5 pounds of fat off of here. A little too aggressive down at this far end here, but that's all right. All right, these little surface bits of fat here, again, if it was comp, I know this would be all nice and clean. I'm gonna leave that. Now I could spend a lot of time getting all these little bits of silver skin here, but I've done this a bunch of times and no one's ever complained when there's just this much left. I've never tasted any difference. Again, we're doing this for home. You can take the time and get really under here, but I don't wanna lose any more meat. This isn't a huge brisket. It's not a 17 or 18 pounder. It started out as 12. So I think we're good here. Let's move on to getting the rub on. So the rub we're using today, I kind of mentioned a little bit before, it's called Smoke Shake from North Texas Barbecue Addicts. Again, my friend Kenneth, who has a YouTube channel called What's New Barbecue, they put this together, his North Texas Barbecue Addicts group, and it's really good. So we're gonna use this today on this brisket. We're gonna give it a good coating. I'm gonna be very generous with this. And I'm not using a binder. There's a lot of moisture still on this brisket. I've mentioned before I generally don't use binders unless there's really a reason. So this one, I think we're doing good. I don't think we're gonna need it today. Turn this over. Get our fat side. And I will be doing this fat side down on the Lone Star Grillz. That's generally the way I like to do briskets, pork butts, things like that. It's just a personal preference. If you do it the other way, nothing wrong with that. I've done it that way too. I really like the color of this rub too. It reminds me of another rub that I really like called, I think it was called Desert Gold by Big Papa Smokers. That's a really good rub. And the color on this really reminds me of that. Make sure you get those edges. Again, this is a USDA Choice Brisket. They didn't have any prime available. This is being filmed in April of 2020, and unless you've been living in a cave, you know that some things at this time are a little hard to get. So this was a good deal on this brisket. I've done Choice before and they're great. We're just gonna give it some good time out on the smoker. All right, this brisket is ready to go back in the refrigerator overnight. I'm gonna cover it loosely with plastic wrap, not tight at all. And tomorrow, I'll see you out at the Lone Star Grillz early in the morning. All right, the Lone Star Grillz offset is fired up. We've got post oak burning in there today. Let's get our brisket on. I'm going fat side down, point towards the firebox. Let's get our temperature probe in. Let's close it up and get smoking. Now, as you saw, I added a few gallons of water to the smoker. It can hold water right in the bottom there. It's got a drain valve to take it out when you're done. That replaces any water pans and just keeps moisture in the chamber. My target temperature today is about 250 degrees in the smoker. We're gonna take the brisket until it's probe tender. So that's gonna be somewhere in the 200-degree range. We're gonna hit about 160-ish first, probably around the stall, somewhere between 150, 160. Then we're gonna wrap this in butcher paper. In a couple hours, we'll check it, see if we need to spritz. Right now, we're just gonna let it smoke. All right, we are 2 hours into this brisket cook. Temperature's been holding right in that 250 range, probably closer to 240. I'm happy, 25 degrees either way of that target temp. I added one split of wood at an hour, and I just added a second split of wood right before here at the 2 hour mark. So we're doing good. This is a really efficient cooker, and it really seems to like that 225 to 250 range. So let's go ahead and see how our brisket's doing. That's looking really good. Now, the internal temperature is about 112 degrees right now, so we still have a little bit to go before we get to that wrapping range and the stall range. But let's check it out and see if we're ready to spritz yet. Color is good, the bark's starting to set. I'm gonna give it a light spritz right now, just a light one. All right, we're gonna close this up, let it go until it's time to wrap it. So we're 5.5 hours into this brisket cook. The brisket is stalled out in the 156, 157 range. It's been hanging there for about 15 minutes, so it's time to wrap it. Hey, she's looking good. Let's get our temp probe out of here temporarily. We'll be putting that back in once we get it wrapped. And I want to keep the orientation the same with the point towards the firebox, fat side down. Close this up to maintain the heat. All right, here's our brisket. Really, really nice color on this. I haven't even snuck a little taste of the bark on the outside yet. I want to wait. I do want to give this a little bit of extra moisture, and what I've been spritzing it with today is just plain water. And I want to try and keep my orientation so that I have fat side down when I put it back. So we're just going to roll it here. And you can see I've got a little bit of excess paper here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim that off. Also, I'm not the one in the house that wraps the Christmas present, so this is good enough for me. All right, let's get this back on the smoker. Let's get our temp probe back in, see if we can get a similar spot. 157, I'm gonna call that close enough. All right, I'm gonna close this up, let it keep going. Probably around 195, we'll start checking for tenderness. I'll see you back here when we get close to 195 internal. All right, we are 10.5 hours into this cook. We hit 197 internal. Let's check for tenderness. I'm gonna go ahead and give the point check. Oh, I'm gonna do 2 spots, but that's butter right there. Yeah, that's butter. Let's check the flat. That is good. That is good. One more. All right, this is tender. I'm gonna wrap that in foil, then it's gonna go in towels in a cooler for 2 hours. Then we're gonna slice into it and have a taste. 10.5 hours later, after a 2-hour rest wrapped in foil, here's our brisket. As a reminder, this was about a 12-pound USDA Choice Brisket. We rubbed it with the Smoke Shake rub from North Texas Barbecue Addicts. This is just looking phenomenal. Let's cut into it. And I'm doing something a little different this time. Normally, I will separate the flat from the point. I've had people comment on that. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm just gonna actually do sort of the traditional cut across this part of the flat with the point, and we'll just get in there and see how it looks. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. That's a Juice-a-Lanch. That is just looking terrific. Let's cut a slice right out of here. One of the double slices so you get some point and some flat. That'll do for me. Oh wow. Nice smoke ring. Let me slide this back here and let's cut a few pieces. Let me see if I can, I'm gonna see if I can get just a slice of the flat here. I'll separate it. Pull that away. Let's do a pull. Yep, that's coming apart. And that's kind of a thick, flat slice when you do that. So that's coming apart nice. Really good. Should I take a little cheater taste? No, I won't. I'll wait because it's all carved up. It's time to taste. And I'm just diving right in here. I'm gonna take a piece of the flat first. Let's see how this is. Oh man, I really like that rub. My friend Kenneth, who I think I mentioned, he has a YouTube channel called What's New Barbecue, and he's also part of the North Texas Barbecue Addicts, and they developed this rub. I bought this rub. He didn't send it to me. I'm sure he would have if I'd asked, but Kenneth, you got a winner here. It's just that perfect addition of seasoning to the brisket. You don't want the seasoning to overpower the great beef flavor, and this rub does exactly that. Really, really nice. It also does give you that little extra hint of a smoky flavor. Now, when you're smoking something for this long, you know, I think we were uncovered before we wrapped about 5.5, 6 hours. You're gonna develop a nice smoke flavor, but this is a nice little additional kick. All right, let's try some of the point. Again, this is USDA Choice. Nothing wrong with that. You can get great flavor out of just about any piece of meat you're cooking as long as you use the right methods, the right seasonings, give it the right amount of time. Nothing wrong with the USDA Choice at all. So if you like brisket, and if you don't like brisket, why did you watch the video this long? don't hesitate to go for a USDA Choice. Just give it the time, give it a good seasoning, give it some smoke, because when you put that loving effort into a hunk of beef like this, you are going to get great results.